Hey everyone, this is Carol again. I hope you've had a chance to either attend one of the overview sessions about the QLT online standards or view the screencast that I made that gives a quick summary of that session. This particular screencast is all about KPI9 landing pages. So what I want to do is really zoom in on this particular standard, look at a range of different ways and a range of different options there are for landing pages. As well, draw together some really quick tips, some simple things that you can do to improve the quality of your landing page before 2016-60. So again, focuses on landing pages. This is one of the 3 QLT online standards: landing pages, peer-to-peer interaction, and staff-to-student interaction. Okay, so what does the standard say? The standard says students experience initial quality assured subject interact to site landing pages and a basic outline. And what does that mean? Basically means the landing page as well as basic outline, which is the navigation. And the things that you really need to focus on here is how do you want to use your landing page? What purpose do you want to bring to it? As well as what elements do you need to include regardless of how you're using that page. And so what I want to do now is just show you through a few of the different ways, and there's quite different ways that the landing pages are being used across our new faculty, Business Justice and Behavioural Sciences. Okay, so if you have a look down in the bottom right corner, first of all, what you'll see is a landing page that's being used to primarily promote teaching presence as well as a bit of the subject identity as well. The academics put their photo in there, there's information about the subject, there's also a link to a bio about that academic. And other profile information and a quick overview of the subject. So that's a really common way that landing pages are being used. If you look over to the left, over here, as another similar kind of landing page, but this one has been made a little bit more interactive. What he's done, and this is Doug Allen, he's incorporated in a PebblePad portfolio, and that means that students can click on each of these areas: my study areas, my coordinator, my assessments, general guidance, and interact with that landing page by finding the kinds of information that they need. Again, it's a static landing page, so that page stays the same all the way through the semester, but it's just a different take on how that kind of information might be provided, and might also be provided within a single screen without heaps of scrolling happening. Again, if you look above that, Levi West has used the landing page as an alternative navigation. And it's when you're looking at providing alternative navigation, you kind of think, well, okay, so why do I do this? There's already navigation in the sidebar, and there's a couple of reasons you might do it. One would be to really highlight the most important navigational links, and that's clearly what's happened here. Only a few of the links from the navigation bar have been pulled out, but that's the core learning process really that's trying to be highlighted in this subject. So looking at the outline, the study guide, the resources, submitting assignments. So it's really highlighting particular parts of the navigation. Another way might be to for example, create some kind of concept map that links different parts of the subject together in a more conceptual way. So instead of having just one long linear list of the navigation items, it'll put those items in connection with each other so students can see which parts or which links they might need to go to at different times of the session, as well as perhaps how some of those links relate into each other. So again, another interesting way of using a static landing page. Then over in the top right over here, Tony Marsh has still done a very strong teacher presence kind of landing page, but he's also brought someone else in as well. So by using, excuse me, sorry about that, just had a bit of a cough. So by using Stephen Fry, and in a way that's linked back to his subject matter, because this is about introduction to information technologies and information into different kinds of ways technologies are used in everyday life, by bringing in an extra voice, a recognised voice that students will all know and most of them really love, then that's a way of helping students to relate what they're about to learn to their own lives, and also have a bit of authority coming in from outside of the course as well. All right, so that's static web pages. What about how pages are being used in a dynamic way, and that means that they're being changed throughout the semester. So I'm going to start here in the top left this time. This one is a common strategy that's being used in many subjects, and I've just picked out one randomly to show you here. So what the academic has done here is, and it's Julia Lynch in School of Accounting and Finance, is she has created a content area for the landing page, brought in different items, one for each week, and gradually each week there's an update, if you like, about what the students have to do during that week. It might be a link to the modules, or it might be a link to a recording for the online meeting, or it might be drawing in their attention to relevant current events that are happening that week, in this case the budget. Again, a really common way that landing pages are being used to keep current with what the students will be focusing on at that particular time. By keeping all the items within the one page and using a content area, it means that if students are away for a couple of weeks, for example, it's quite easy to scroll down, but the most current information is always at the top. Down a little bit lower, down here, you'll see a tweet feed that's been embedded into a site. Why would you do that? Well, in this case, it brings together the kinds of ways that the academic is interacting with the students, both within the Interact site as well as external to the Interact site. So in this case, Jo Parker plays in role for part of the subject. So she's acting as the client for the students' projects, where they're also acting in role, but she's also acting as the academic. So in the landing page, there's a part where she's overviewing the subject, but there's also a place for this feed, so students can see the ongoing communication coming in from the client. In a similar way, Levi West has been incorporating a Twitter feed, but this time not for a role play, but it's incorporating a feed that brings in a whole range of different kinds of resources from the students' from what will be their future, if not current, professional network. So again, different way of bringing in other kinds of interaction into the landing page. This one here is announcements, so you probably think, well, why is announcements on here when we're talking about dynamic landing pages? And that's because what Val Ingham has done in emergency management is she's linked the landing page and made sure that it comes out at the announcements tool. Now, that means that she can, and when she's doing that, she can make sure that that welcome message and her profile is always at the top of the page, but also that any announcements continue to roll in and can be seen right from that home page without taking that extra couple of clicks to get into the announcements. Now, the advantage of doing it this way, and it's quite clever, means that she still has that kind of dynamic page, but because it's announcements, she's also makes sure that that is communicated to students through email as well. So she's also capturing students who may not come into the site as quickly as you might hope, and seeing all the updates to the site. She's still getting that alert through the email happening at the same time. Up in the top right, Richard Coulis has done some cool things here in terms of embedding different kinds of apps into the landing page. Again, a similar kind of dynamic page, and just putting things in as they're appropriate. So at the bottom here, he's embedded Padlet, which is simple kind of bulletin board, if you like, kind of tool where students can just put up different posts. It might be whether they're collecting resources around a particular area, it might be them introducing to each other, but that's embedded into the home page. So the activity that students are doing at the moment is embedded into the home page. He's also embedded other things as well. You see here a little Google map, if you like, of the DE outreach program. So again, students can, by embedding this in, and all it is a matter of placing a simple piece of code into into the landing page, and there's a blog post about that if anyone's interested in knowing how to do it. Students can come in and interact with this Google map. They can click on any of those little cars, they can go straight in, see when the outreach team are in their area, and actually go in within the landing page and book an item, book a time to meet with that the outreach team when they are there, and also contact the outreach team as well. To do that seems really complicated. It's not. It's one simple piece of code taken straight from, well, it's in that blog post, so you'll know exactly how to, by going to that blog post, you'll know exactly how to do it. But it makes the landing page much more dynamic. So there's lots and lots of different ways that landing pages can be and are being used. And the whole idea of the standards isn't about making them all look the same. It's far from it. It's about having those common elements in there and encouraging people to think about how they're going to use the landing page. So again, reinforcing that one more time, it's about being strategic about your landing page, thinking about what's the best way for me to use my landing page in this particular subject, and there might be multiple purposes for it that you want to use. Then once you've got that right, what elements do you need to include regardless of how you're going to use it? And just a quick reminder of what you need to do for all cohorts, and this is internal cohorts as well as distance cohorts. Make sure your landing page is functional with a clear navigation using section headings, common elements. Make sure it's informative with a basic heading, subject code and name, your name, contact and bio, preferably in the contacts tool, and a basic overview and introduction to the subject area in whatever format. And make sure it's engaging, including some kind of purposeful multimedia, not just for decoration, but media that adds meaning to your text. And make sure you adapt any auto text and keep any hidden text hidden. Now to what you can do. So in terms of being functional, work with colleagues on a consistent approach to your common navigational needs. So that might be, for example, where online meeting recordings are kept. Some of the things when I've been looking through subjects, one of the common things I'm picking out is the difference in how this happens right across our faculty. Sometimes it's kept in a really organised way, but quite often the link to the online meeting may be in the navigation bar, but then the schedule for the online meetings may be in the subject outline. Then the recordings for the online meetings can be sent out through announcements. Link to online meetings help could be somewhere in the navigation bar, not necessarily with the other online meetings, but it could be somewhere else as well. So looking at similar things like this, where there's groups of items, if you like, that could be all kept together, but that because they're all dispersed in different ways and different academics are sending those kinds of links in different ways to students, it can be quite confusing and, well, more time wasting for students in terms of working out where things are. Common approaches in this kind of thing is really useful. Variety is great in terms of the particular kinds of learning experiences that we offer to students, but in terms of finding things, that's where we want consistency. You might want to try an innovative approach to navigation as well, for example, a visual map through the course. In terms of being informative, think about, and this is something that we don't often think about, but we get so, I guess, pulled into just, okay, that's just what we normally do, that we all just put welcome to ABC 123 in the heading. We don't really think about other ways we could use that heading much more strategically. We'll have a talk about that in a minute. Also add options and preferences for contacting you, including virtual office hours if that's something that suits you and the way that you work. You also might want to extend your overview and focus on how to use it to really engage students. Then in the engaging areas, show your personality. That some of the best things in the way the videos that people put up about themselves are the really quirky things that just really show who they are and allow the students to really connect with them. It's not just a dry a video that's very, very formal, very professional, but that you don't really get a sense of who that person is who's going to be teaching me for the next semester. So don't be frightened of putting some of your personality in there, because usually it's really appreciated and it lets the students connect with you as well. Try some different kinds of engagement strategies, and we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute as well. And ensure your media adds meaning to the page. Forget about the decorative stuff. It might look really pretty, but it's wasting your space on your landing page. Really think about what media you're going to use and whether it adds meaning to the page or not. And think about a little bit about style and visual design as well. And again, a bit more about that later. Alrighty, so some quick tips. First one, again, we've talked quite a bit about this so far, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. But in terms of getting functional about your landing page, group items. For people in the Faculty of Business, this is going to be a no-brainer. We've been doing this for the last 18 months through our faculty template, but it's not the same right across the faculty. But you can see just by looking this how clear it is for students to find what they want. There's an area for subject community, for area where those interactions are going to happen. There's an area for learning content and activity, and an area for additional CSU support, things that aren't specifically related to the subject, but they might want and usually will want while they're studying without having to go off to all of the navigating through the whole CSU website. Think ahead about grouping items. We've talked about that in terms of online meeting. Recover buried treasures. This resources item is a real nightmare sometimes. Sometimes it links to student folders where there is just a zillion different kinds of PowerPoints and files and folders and so on, that finding what you actually need is really, really hard. So think carefully, put your student hat on and think, okay, this might make sense for me to just throw things in here like this. And I'm not suggesting that everyone just throws things in, but it's a good opportunity to re-look at it, to make, with your student hat on, make sure that everything is really clear, really consistent for students, that during that first week of the semester, of the session, they're not wasting time trying to find stuff. And I've been in focus groups with students where they've said exactly that. It takes them the first week to find what they need in the site, because every academic does it in a very different way. By getting functional about your navigation, you can help them avoid that and really draw their attention into what they should be doing, which is about the learning experiences that you're providing for them, not just trying to find stuff. Okay, this is what I meant about the online meetings. Again, instead of dispersing things all over the place, some in announcements, some in the subject outline, a single link to online meeting. You can see here, click above, click on this link to get to the online meeting room. There's a guide there straight away. There's also a link to when the times are for those online meetings. A bit redundant that, because you really already have it down here in the table. But in the table we've got all the key information, all in the one space. The dates, what it's covered, links to the recording and how long it's going to be. Really effective use of the online meeting. If you want to get together with others around doing that, I think that's great. You'll also see up here, and I'll cover this in one of the other screencasts, is something that's quite valuable as well. If you have lots of international students or students in different time zones, if you go to the world clock area, and I'll do a post on the blog about this, don't worry too much about not having all the how-to stuff in this particular screencast. The reason I'm not doing all the how-to is because it's not relevant to everybody, and I just really want to play around in this screencast with some of the things that you can be doing. Keep the how-tos to separate places for those people who want to do it. But this is really, really useful, and it's a tool that's available through the world clock. What it means is that, for example, I've got an online meeting set up for 1 o'clock on a particular day, in this case on Thursday the 12th of May, which was a bit of a while ago. But for students, they can click on this, change their location, say, okay, so I'm not in Perth, I'm actually in New York, for example. Change the location to New York, and immediately that time will convert to when the online meeting is for them. So they don't have to run around and go and fiddle with finding out that time. It just is a time saver for them and makes it really clear and easy when they need to go to that online meeting. Again, just sometimes it's just those small little things that really make a difference in helping students out. Using the contact tool. This is really widely used for the Faculty of Business. It's not as widely used in some of our other schools. in our new faculty, but the context tool can relieve a lot of that space on your landing page. Instead of having to have a static landing page with the contact information already always there, throw it into the contacts tool at the side. It looks really smart and professional. It's got all the information you need, including the best times to contact. You can have your photo, you can have a bio there. There's quite a lot of scope in terms of how you can set that out. And the best thing about the contacts tool is you only have to create it once. You can then export it and import it into multiple sites. Again, only having to do that once. Very, very handy. Again, the how-to tools, how-to about that I'll provide a bit later in another screencast. Think about landing page makeover. Okay, again, I want to come back to this first point about how you want to use your landing page. And that's really what our makeovers are largely about. It's about looking at different kinds of landing pages and how we might set those out. One of the things to really think about this is, in the rush to give information on your landing page, don't overlook motivation, because that's one of the really important parts, regardless of the kind of landing page that you want. You can do that in so many different ways, through providing a story about how particular concepts, or how important the particular area that you're discussing through your subject is really important, and the implications perhaps. You can do it by talking about the relevance of this. You can put a killer stat out there. You can use an authority, and we've already talked about that, and by using a recognised voice, even humour. The important thing is that every item on your landing page must fight for its right to be there. It's a little bit like short stories. So in short stories, we have to really conserve the use of words and make sure that every word has a need to be on that page. Same thing with a landing page. Every item has to have a real purpose in there. So ask yourself, is this piece of information right for the landing page, or is it better somewhere else in a focal point in the navigation? If it is important and you've decided that answer to that is yes, is this something that I need the whole lot of the information on the landing page, or is this something where I want to make students aware of it and then just link off to the particular item in the navigation? If the answer is still yes, it's really important, fine, leave it in. But unless it goes through those two different criteria, you really should think about whether it should be somewhere else other than the landing page. Okay, starting points. And I'm calling these starting points instead of templates, simply because I think templates just always gets us in a real messy muddle somehow, and people resist the idea of templates and want to do things in their own way. And I guess this isn't what this is about at all. The reason we came, and we being the QLT Online leaders, came up with this idea of having common kinds of starting points, if you like, is one, to encourage people to think about the different purposes of the landing page, and each of these different starting points are designed to reflect a different kind of purpose for the landing page, but also because when we were looking at all the landing pages, the content wasn't really the issue. What the issue was is the limitations of Interact 2 and how that made those landing pages look. And they didn't always look really professional. They didn't always look really inviting. And that wasn't because the content wasn't great. That was because of the limitations of that particular space. So what we've done is we've worked with Tim Clapdoor in You Imagine to come up with a lot of these starting points. Really flexible. All they are is we've pulled together different pieces of code in particular ways. Because they're really flexible, it's been done like that. It means that if you wanted something that you could say, oh, I like that element, and I like this element, I like this element, but I want it structured in a very different way, we can do that as well. But it just might mean that you work with us around a landing page makeover. But what we've done is just set up some common four different kinds of landing pages. Well, there's actually more than 4, and you'll be able to see those later. But I'm just showing you 4 today. First one's around teacher presence. Again, this is a really familiar kind of landing page. An introduction here, welcome to your subject. You could also make that top line a really engaging heading, and then in this orange bar here, put welcome to your subject. So you're using that heading much more strategically. Space for an overview, some subheadings if you wanted to divide that up, space for contact details, space for an photo or video, and there's also drawing out particular messages here. Now, it might be that you want to put that message up the top to draw out something about the subject to grab people's attention and grab them in. Might be that you want to put this a little bit lower and use it, for example, as a way of putting your welcome to country at the start of your subject. So many different options here within a simple kind of page. Again, colours and so on can all change as well. This is a different kind of one. It's around subject and orientation to the subject and subject identity. I've actually pulled in it's got a hero image right at the top. I've pulled in an image that's actually in one of our subjects. This is from Jen Wellner, and I just love this because, again, there's an image that there's a reason for that to be there all the time on a static page. Students will keep coming back and seeing where all the different parts of their subject fits in and what they're up to now and how it all connects to each other. So I think that's a really useful part of it. You can't see down the bottom here, but there's also a space for a video here introducing your subject, as well as some text, and beneath that as well there's two sections as well for whatever you want really, key resources, key assessment dates, learning outcomes, for whatever you want. A third different kind of landing page here where we've set something up is that idea of the dynamic page, and we talked about those earlier. So again, the first post might be about welcome to the subject. Again, using this section here as could be, you can just do welcome to ABC 1, 2, 3, or you could use it as a killer stat, something to really grab people's attention. Again, some space for general text and the context and the contacts. The next week, when you're starting to move into week 1, a video that introduces the modules, possibly, or it could be a photo, an image. Again, space for some text and perhaps a space for a quote or something to draw things out to motivate students, and on and on and on. So in this kind of one, there's a series of these set up, some with images, some with videos. All you do is copy that particular item across and add it to the particular week that you're going to be talking about. Another different kind of landing page is around social feeds. This one has a feed coming in from the right, and it doesn't even have to be a feed, a social media feed that you're using. It might be, you might have a professional organisation that has a feed that's coming out about things that are going on in the profession. And if you've got students who are in 3rd year about to start going out into the profession, that's a perfect thing to have on your landing page, because you're starting to introduce them and starting to get them seeing what's going on in the network of professionals that they're about to enter into. Fantastic way of incorporating a feed without you having to do all of that yourself. And again, some standard text here. And again, you can see that the heading here is being used as a way to grab students' attention while keeping the information about the subject there as well. And the link to the contacts, the contacts are included through the contacts tool. Again, just drawing attention to that different use of the heading. So lots of different possibilities there. Again, if you like the look of any of those landing pages, and you don't have to use those, or if you like bits of them but would like to see what other options are, or you'd like me to go through and look at your landing page and perhaps do a makeover with you about how you'd like it to be, give me a call. There'll be a screencast at the end about how to use these different kinds of landing pages, but if you want them some individual attention, or you want something slightly different, give me a call. I'll get to those as soon as I can. Okay, one of the other tips that are really important is to remove your old banner. We've got Faculty of Arts banners, we've got Faculty of Business banners across most of our subject sites. That's not applicable as of 2016-60. We're now the Faculty of Business, Justice and Behavioural Science, and so we need a new faculty banner. Now those aren't quite ready yet. We're waiting for the web design team to work through faculty colours, but removing your old banner now getting ready for a new one, knowing that before the start of semester, those new ones will be provided to you and you'll be able to update those. Good thing to do. Okay, so other ideas for your landing pages. Head to the Quality Learning and Teaching online site. Click on categories over here, K-9 landing pages, and you'll see heaps of ideas come up. Earlier I talked about that tip for being able to embed the CSU Outreach or the DE Outreach Google Map in there so that students can interact with it either on your landing page or somewhere else in your site. That's all in there as well. How to find great images for your landing page. Again, some tips about where to go to find good free uses of images, and a whole range of other tips there as well. So don't forget to go and look at that site. So again, just a reminder about what those standards are for your landing pages. KPI9, functional navigation, basic heading, subject name and code, contact details and bio, and an overview with multimedia. But don't limit yourself to that. There's an opportunity here to go so much further and do some really exciting things with landing pages, all within the bounds of the time that you have between now and the start of semester. Pick a couple of things that you think can work for you. You don't have to do everything. Pick a couple of things and see how it works. Really interested to see the results. Now, I said earlier that all the how-to stuff wasn't going to do in this screencast. It's already 30 minutes as it is, so expanding it to how-tos that wouldn't be relevant to everyone was probably a bit of a would have been a bit of a mistake. So what I've done is I've created lots of small how-to screencasts and I've linked them all from this particular site. So if you go to this page, you'll find links to all of the how-tos about the things that I've mentioned in this screencast, and hopefully you'll find that really useful. If there's something that you want to try out, or it's something that wasn't clear, or something you have questions about, get in touch with me. More than happy to help.